The advanced spiritual path in Islam is a journey of deep internal transformation, and we're going to be drawing on the teachings of the great scholar, Imam Al-Sha'rani, to understand it. So this is the big question, right? It's one thing to fulfill your basic duties, but how do you move beyond that? How do you reach that state of real, profound spiritual growth? A state of constant connection to the divine. What does that path actually look like? So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with the foundation, the Prophet as the true guide. Then we'll look at the role of living teachers or sheikhs. After that, we'll get into the real nitty-gritty, the discipline of leaving permissible things, what a seeker's mindset is all about. And finally, we'll touch on a very advanced spiritual station, the idea of visions of the Prophet. Okay, first things first. To understand any spiritual path in Islam, you have to start at the absolute bedrock, and that foundation, that constant point of reference, is always the Prophet Muhammad. Sha'rani says it so powerfully here. He is the true she for all. That term she is so specific. What he's saying is that the Prophet isn't just a historical figure. He is the primary, ever-present living spiritual guide for the entire community, for all people, for all time. And that's because his guidance is seen as universal and direct. You know, when he gave an instruction to his companions, it wasn't just for them in that one moment. The wisdom in it extends to every believer forever. He's the ultimate model for anyone who's seeking that closeness to God. In fact, the Quran makes it crystal clear. The path to getting God's love is through following the Prophet. It's that direct. So, you might be asking, if the Prophet is the original source, how do people connect to that guidance centuries later? Well, that's exactly where the role of the living spiritual guide, the sheikh, becomes so important. Think of them as a link in a golden chain. So what is a she? A she is an authorized teacher who has inherited the prophetic teachings through an unbroken chain. Their job isn't to invent some new path. Their job is to embody and transmit the teachings. And just as important, the character of the Prophet to their students. And the person who walks this path is called a murid. This is the disciple, the seeker, who makes a commitment to this journey under a guide. All with the goal of purifying their own heart and drawing closer to God. And this is the absolute key point to remember. The sheikh is not the destination. They are a means, a vital connection. They are a link in that chain that leads the seeker right back to the original source of all guidance, the Prophet himself. Okay, now we get to the practical heart of this whole journey. It involves a very specific discipline, and it's all about consciously choosing to leave behind actions that are merely permissible. You see, in Islamic law, you have things that are obligatory, recommended, forbidden, or disliked. But then there's this huge category right in the middle called Mubah, or permissible things. These are neutral actions, stuff God has allowed as a mercy, a space for people to just breathe and live without the intensity of religious duties. And this table just illustrates the difference perfectly. For most people, eating 2 full meals a day is totally fine. For the seeker, they eat only out of true necessity. The Prophet actually advised his wife Aisha that eating twice in one day was a form of excess. He also guided his daughter Fatima away from silk and gold, not because they were forbidden for women, but to steer her toward a higher spiritual focus, away from worldly luxury. This line from Imam Al-Sha'rani just captures that shift in perspective so well. It's like the seeker is operating with a totally different set of priorities. They're not just content with what's allowed. They are laser-focused on what brings them closer to the divine, even if it means leaving behind comforts that everyone else enjoys. Now, this kind of rigorous discipline isn't just about external actions. It has to be driven by a really powerful internal mindset that completely recategorizes every single choice a person makes. Just look at this framework. For a true seeker, a recommended good deed is treated with the seriousness of an obligation. Something that's merely disliked is avoided as if it were strictly forbidden. Permissible acts are left alone unless they are absolutely necessary. And even necessary things like sleeping get transformed into worship by intending for it to give you strength for prayer. It's a total reorientation of your life. And let's be clear, this isn't about making life hard for the sake of it. The real goal is to intentionally choose that spiritual rigor over just taking the easy route. It's about systematically closing every single door that could possibly lead to distraction. or to a state of just being forgetful of God. So for those who really undertake this path of intense purification and devotion, the sources talk about a potential for a really profound own spiritual state, a direct waking connection with the Prophet. This possibility is based on this famous saying of the Prophet. Now, it's understood not just as a simple dream, but as a promise that for the sincerely devoted, the spiritual veil can actually be lifted, allowing for a kind of conscious spiritual communion. But, and this is a really big but, it's vital to understand the incredibly strict conditions that surround this. An experience like this is only considered authentic if the person is known for being spiritually upright and righteous. It also must be in perfect harmony with the Quran and the established teachings. It can never ever be used to change or contradict a single thing in the religion. It's seen as a very rare grace for a few, not some goal that everyone should be trying to achieve. And that brings us to our final question, which really gets to the heart of this whole thing. This entire path from following the ultimate guide to the discipline of the permissible. It's all about this one transformation. So, but what does it truly mean to turn every single action, even the most mundane, into a real path toward the divine? That's the challenge this path poses. How intention and discipline can turn an ordinary life into an extraordinary spiritual journey.